This content is for educational purposes only. What you do with this information is at your own risk. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be doing a basic setup of the software Nut and Tinfoil on Linux. And this version of Linux is going to be Ubuntu. So let's go ahead and check it out. Okay, so I had a comment on my video recently of Nut and Tinfoil on Windows. And this comment says if I can do a tutorial for Nut and Tinfoil but on Linux. So I went and tried it for myself on my version of Linux, which is Ubuntu Budgie, and I at first could not figure it out. I am not very familiar with Linux and all the ways to get things installed properly or remove things. So I had lots of troubles, and I just did a quick reply saying that I couldn't figure it out. Sorry. But it bugged me so much that I went ahead and tried it last night. And after, I want to say like 5 hours, I finally figured out how to get Nut to run. And I tried it with the switch with Tinfoil and everything worked out. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I just want to give y'all a quick disclosure that I'm going to be doing this part of the video of installing Nut on a virtual machine. So that way we can do a step-by-step process, because I already installed it on my personal Ubuntu Linux device, and I don't know how to remove it, so I can show y'all again. And I just decided to open a virtual machine so that way we can do the step-by-step there, and then I'll switch over to my personal one once Nut is able to be opened up. The process is still the same, the steps are still the same. It's just going to be, two different areas, but the end result's the same. So I just wanted to let y'all know that, just in case you see things a little bit differently. But I'll be talking about that as we go along. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here I have a fresh install of Ubuntu Linux on my virtual machine. But just to let y'all know real quick that you don't have to start fresh in order to follow this video. You can have an already set up version of Linux and still follow the steps. So just letting you know that you don't start fresh. You can start from your already set up version of Linux. I'm just starting fresh so that way I can show you a step-by-step version and it's working from a fresh start. So, okay, so the first thing that you want to do every time you want to start installing something new on your Linux device is to see if there's any updates. So we do that by clicking on the Files tab down here, and then make sure you're in the Home tab right here. Once it says Home, you're going to want to right click in this empty space and then open a terminal. Once you do that, you can now type in this, which is sudo apt, and then update. Then you're going to type in your password that you made when you created Linux and see if there's any type of updates. Now it's okay if there's no updates. It's just good common practice because we need to do this every time we install something new. So we're going to be running this quite a bit. So after you're done with this, you can now type in sudo apt upgrade and see if there's any type of upgrade. So 0 was upgraded. That means I have everything up to date and I can proceed. So now what we want to do, we can now type in, I think, clear. And what we're going to now look at is here in this GitHub page right above my head. If we scroll down here in Nut on GitHub, we have an option for installation guide for Linux. Now this is kind of vague because after following all these steps, I still had a lot of errors, and we're going to address those as we go along. But these are the requirements that we need, which is Python 3.9 plus. I think right now it's 3.10. We're going to check that after we install it, and these other type of requirements as well. So let's start with the first one, which is installing Python. So what we want to do is we can type in sudo apt install Python, and we need Python 3. So we type this out, Python 3, and then press enter. Now it says here that I already have Python 3 that's installed. It's 3.10, like I thought. And if you ever want to check to see which version of Python you're at before you install Python 3, you can actually type in the version of Python that you think you know. So if you think you have Python 3, and then you just type in Python 3, and then you put -- version, and it will show you right there Python 3.10. So after that, what we need to do is right here in the first guide is install Python. Once we're here, we can now type in these things that we need to install, which is Python pip, Python pyqt5, and libusb. So let's go ahead and start with the pip. So I'm going to do the same thing, sudo apt install python 3- pip, and let that install. Once it tells you at the bottom, it says, do you want to continue? Type in Y and press enter. We'll let that finish. All right, so once the pip has finished installing, now we can type in the next one, which is going to be sudo apt install python 3- pyq, lost my spot, t5, and then press enter. If it has another question saying, do you want to continue? Type in yes. Okay, so once that one has finished, we can now type in the last one, which is the libusb. So the same thing, sudo apt install libusb. Press enter. Now, for some reason, I have this issue where I can't find it, so I'm pretty sure that I'm not installing it correctly, and I might have to use a package installer. Like for Ubuntu, it's with the package installer with Pacman and things like that, but I don't really know. But just to give you a heads up, I couldn't get it to work anyways with libusb, so I had to use a different version, which is Python USB. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do sudo apt install python 3- USB, and then press install or enter. So that one is working, and I found that one to be working even for like injecting payload on the switches. For the unpatched switches, you would use the Python 3 USB. So that would be a good thing to have installed. So now we installed those three things except for libusb, but we used an alternative. Now we can install this curl, which says OpenSSL backend. So it gives us the option right here, which is going to be, again, sudo apt install libssl.dev space lib curl 4 dash OpenSSL.dev, and then after that you can go ahead and press enter. Okay, so once that is done, the next thing is that we need to go ahead and clone into the repository of Nut from here. So what we want to do is we're going to want to look at this code here for Nut, and I'll have a link in the description to this GitHub here, so that way you can do what I'm doing. But what we're going to want to do is in here, we're going to type in git clone, and then we need to type in this URL address here. If you're using this on your Linux device right now, you can just right click and copy, but it doesn't work for me using a virtual machine, so I have to type it out. So just do that real quick, and it's going to be and then you can go ahead and press enter. Now, since this is a new version or a new install of Ubuntu, I don't have Git installed. So if this error message happens for you, then just go ahead and type what it says there. Sudo apt install git. Then press Y. And then what we can do is, let's just go ahead and do an update. So I'm going to do the sudo apt update. make sure everything that I have installed is running fine, and then sudo apt upgrade. And then now what we can do is do the git clone. So git clone so once it's done doing the cloning process, we can actually get out of here, and then we're going to want to go into the folder that is called nut after it cloned into it. So go ahead and open it, and here in the main area, or I guess the root of the folder for nut, you're going to want to click on this empty area here and then open a terminal. So you want to make sure that the terminal opens up and it has this right here where it says the directory, and right now we're inside the nut folder. I'm going to go back down here to the instructions, and the next step is to install the pip, the requirements. So right here, the Python modules listed in requirements. So what we need to do is use our pip from Python. So we're going to type in pip3 and then install -r requirements .txt, and I think that's the way it is. Yeah. So once you have this typed out like this, just go ahead and click on enter and see if everything installs. You might have some errors, so let's see if any errors pop up for me. And hopefully not, because I tried this several times and I think that I got it good. At most we might get one error, which I can show you how to fix, because I don't know how to fix it from the start. So it looks like it does seem to be working. I would like to say if it just finished, so everything worked out just fine. It installed all of these dependencies that we need in order for Nut to run. So if you have any errors, I'm going to assume maybe you have an old version of Python or Python pip, and you might want to uninstall your Python 2 or regular Python 1. I don't know how old your device is, and you're going to have to install Python 3. I think you can actually have them overlapped on installation, but just in case, just remove one and install the other and go from there. But since I did not have any errors, we can go ahead and continue. So the next thing on the list is to do this area, which I don't understand because I'm not really fluent in Linux. And I think this area here, it says to allow the following code to snippet. And every time I see this area for switch rules, I don't think we have anything installed, like the package, the dev package for switch, unless you might have it. But I don't think it's important, but because it still works here. So every time I see this right here, that udev ADM control, I think this is so that way you can bypass the root. But correct me if I'm wrong, because I honestly don't know. So I just go ahead and skip this. It works for me without it. So I'm going to just skip that area, and I'm going to go ahead and try and run it at the last step. Now I will get an error because I don't know how to fix it from here before. Probably what I'm going to do now is I should install those things. But let's get the error first so that way you can see it. So if we want to run nut now, we can type in Python. Well, let's clear all this out. And then now let's type in Python 3 and then space nut underscore GUI dot py. You want to make sure that you're still in the nut directory when trying this, and let's go ahead and press enter, see what happens. See, so it tries to open nut, and you always get this error. Now I was prepared for this error because on my notes I have the exact same error right here, possible errors. And the only way to fix that is with these two lines right here. So what we're going to want to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this terminal out. And it looks like we need to do some updates for pip and this PyOpenSSL. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to want to go here on Home tab, and then we're going to open a terminal here in Home. And this is where we're going to type in here this these two lines. So we're going to do one by one. I'm going to do Python 3 -m or -m pip space install, upgrade pip, and then press enter. So once that is done, it says successfully installed pip. And now we can do the next line down, which is pip 3 install OpenSSL space dash dash upgrade, and press enter. And this one now has a successful install. And after that, we can close out of this terminal and go back into the Nut folder and then open a terminal there. So I know you can go from this area and switch in and out of the directories, but I don't know how to do that. I know it's like CD this and that, but like I said, I'm not familiar. So this is just how it's easier for me. But here in the Nut folder directory, we're going to want to try and do the same thing, which was the Python 3 space nut underscore UI dot py, and now it should open up the Nut software. So press enter. If you see this little squirrel here, it should work. So now it's downloading this. I don't know how to fix this keys thing, so if anybody knows, you can let me know. Even on my Windows, it has that issue with can't find keys, so it still works without it with what we're trying to do. So once this loads up for the first time, it shouldn't take this long to open up Nut anymore. This is just the first, like, creating its dependencies for you when you try and use Nut again for the second time. But after it's done, it should open up Nut. And there we go. Now we have the latest version of Nut, which is 3.3. And now here, just like on my previous video, you should be able to just now go and set up Tinfoil and then use Nut the way you want to. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that real quick. We're going to set up Tinfoil on the switch, and then we're going to have a brief example of Nut working on my Ubuntu device. So like I said in the beginning of this video, I just showed you how to set up Nut here, but since I can't get USB to function properly from a virtual device on my PC with my switch, I have to switch over to my personal device of Ubuntu Linux and show y'all from there. So like I said, the steps are the same. It's working for me here. I hope everything's working for you. But let's go ahead and switch over to that view, and then we can continue the video from there. So we're good here. You should have Nut working. Of course, if you know how to use Nut already, then you should be able to use it already with what you want to use it for. Right? Okay, so let's go ahead and change that view. I'll see you when I get there. Okay, so now we are here in my personal version of Ubuntu Linux. And even though it looks different, the setup is still the same. It's still Ubuntu Budgie because that's the one I like the most and know a little bit more of. But what we're going to want to do now is set up Tinfoil. Now, for those of you that already have Tinfoil updated and set up, then you do not have to follow this part of the video, because I'm going to update Tinfoil for my SD card or add it for any of those that haven't added Tinfoil yet. So if you already have a working Tinfoil, you don't have to follow these steps to install another one. Now, if it doesn't work for you at the end of this video, then maybe you need to update your Tinfoil, and then if that's the case, then you can come back and follow this part where I install Tinfoil. So basically you need to have this Tinfoil, where is it? This Tinfoil self-installer. So if you look in the description, there's going to be a link that will send you to the Tinfoil download website. So it should look like this. And once you click on that link, you should just be able to scroll down and then look for this option here where it says download Tinfoil self-installer now. Once you've done that, you can have it move down here or wherever you have your downloads put at, and then just double click on it and open it up like I have done already. So now before I start the process of transferring to the SD card updating, you do need to have custom firmware already set up. So if you don't have that, I'll have a link in the description to my video on setting up custom firmware on your SD card. So if you already have custom firmware and you already have tinfoil that you want to update, just make sure that when you delete, because I'm going to delete these files, that you save any type of information that you want to keep on tinfoil, any type of URL links you may want to keep. So just letting you know. So for here we have a switch folder, and in here we have a tinfoil folder. So we're going to go into the switch folder on our SD card and go to tinfoil and then delete it. Right click and then once you do that, we can now go back, and here we can just highlight this one folder here for switch and drag it to the root anywhere in this empty space. Make sure it does not fall inside a folder, and just let the transfer go over. It might ask you if you want to merge the files folders, but if it does, just say right now it's just extracting. We'll let that run its course. Alright, so now inside the switch folder, we can check to see if we have tinfoil, and we are in fact updated with tinfoil, and we should be good to go with the SD card. So since I have my SD card open, I forgot to say that I'm using the Hecate SD card tools in order to access my SD card. So I'm already in Hecate, but once we're here, I can exit out of the SD card. And since I'm still in Hecate, I can close out and then launch into custom firmware, because on the switch now we have to uninstall the tinfoil that we had, or the older version in that case, and then install the new one. Let's see if I can show my switch on this version of Ubuntu. Okay, so quickly here on the switch, what you're going to want to do is, if you have tinfoil already installed, you can go ahead and press plus over tinfoil, go down to manage software, and then delete the software. Once we're done deleting the software, we can now go back into our H menu and then scroll over till we see the tinfoil self-installer, and just let tinfoil get reinstalled. Alright, so my tinfoil looks a little bit wonky, but that's because it needs to be updated. And once I get out and go back in, then we should be good. So I'm not worried about this part. I just wanted to show y'all that you need to get rid of the old one. Now we have the latest version of tinfoil, and now the switch is ready. Now we just need to connect it to our Ubuntu device. Let's go ahead and try that out. I'm gonna get out of tinfoil, and then I'm gonna plug it. I'm gonna open up Nut here on Ubuntu, and then I'm gonna plug in the switch. Alright, so back on here on Ubuntu, we're going to get out of the tinfoil stuff, and here we're going to get out of this home area. Just to show you real quick, just click on files. You're going to want to make sure that you're on home, and we're going to want to look for the folder that is called Nut. So once you open that up, you can go ahead and right click anywhere in the empty space in this directory and open a terminal. And once that opens up, you can make sure that it is in the Nut terminal, and then type in what we were doing in the virtual machine. Python 3 nut or GUI.py and press enter. So Nut should open up, and now that we have this here, automatically found my files, but I'll show you how to find your files anyways. But now that we have this opened up, we have Nut working, and we have a disconnected area here on the switch. But if I were to plug in my switch to my PC, which I'm going to show on somewhere on the screen with my camera phone, I'm going to start recording on my camera phone, plug in my switch to my PC, and then what I'm going to do is enter tinfoil. So once I enter tinfoil, if everything goes well, should be able to pick up the USB function here on Nut. Go ahead and do that, and you see here Nut is updating itself because of the USB function now, and we have USB connected here. We also have a IP address here, so we can do the Wi-Fi, which I'll be doing both in this video. But let's start with the Nut here. If you have any of your titles saved anywhere on your device, you're going to want to locate them here on local scan paths. And then we can add your local scan area, where mine is in my downloads folder. So if I were to go to downloads folder, which is looking right, we can go to where it says, let's go back to David, and then we're going to look for downloads. So if we click on downloads here and then click on open, it'll say right here, it's going to look for downloads open. And after you do that, or after you've added all your locations of where you want to have your devices, you can just go ahead and click on scan, and it's going to scan for you, where it just shows right here that it's scanning all the available files that I have on this device. And then it's going to add them here in the files section, like I see now. Now for the USB portion of Tinfoil, if I were to go here on Tinfoil on my switch now that it shows connected, and I go into file browser, here in file browser I can push right, and then if I click on USB, I should be able to see the titles from my Ubuntu. I don't know if I have this installed. Do not. So you can just do this. I'll probably have this blurred out, but it just I'll skip this part. And here on my Ubuntu, you can see that I am downloading it. I don't know what I can show, but I will have most likely a lot of it blurred. But once it's done, I'm going to show the Wi-Fi option. Okay, so now let's do the Wi-Fi option with Nut and Tinfoil. So with using Wi-Fi, I'm going to just show you real quick right here that I am no longer connected to USB, and on my phone it's not connected anymore. But with Wi-Fi, what's most important is that you need to make sure that the internet or router that you're connected to on your PC is the same network as your switch. So mine is called Netgear 6.5, and both my PC, my Ubuntu, and my switch are connected to Netgear. That's the only way it's going to work. So if you make sure that both of them have the same connection with the same network, then we can go ahead and continue. So here on the Ubuntu, just leave the Nut open just like that. We have all the information that we need right here, which we'll get to. But on your switch, you're going to want to go here on Tinfoil. You're going to want to go to the right here in file browser, and then we're going to want to click on new, which says down here is minus. Once you click on new, you're going to have all these options here. And here on the first option with protocol, you're going to press A, enter it, and then you're going to use the D-pad down to get to the option that says Nut. So make sure, since it's green, you have the green word Nut highlighted. So it's highlighted for me in green there. I'm going to press A, and you're going to see it pop up right here that says Nut. Now that we're done with that, we can go down to host. And here in host, this is where we're going to look for our IP address on Nut. So if we look on the Ubuntu here on Nut, it has the IP address. This is what you're going to type in here in host. So find the numbers area, and you're going to type in this. Keep in mind that you have to type in the one that you see on your screen and not the one that I'm typing. Oops. There you go. So that's the host. You're going to want to push plus for OK if you have it correct. Now we're going to go to the port, and on the Nut, it has it right here for port 9000. So enter port, and then you're going to type in 9000, then press plus for OK. Here path, we don't have anything. We just have last is username and password. So username is on Nut, it says guest, and password is guest as well. So just go ahead and type those out. Guest, and then plus. Password is also guest. Press plus. And then once you're done with all this, then what you're going to want to do is on the bottom it says press X to save. So just go ahead and click on X. And then Tinfoil is going to refresh and it's going to add your Wi-Fi path. So now we have it here. So it should, if everything goes well, we could click on this. And if it goes well, we should be able to see our files with Wi-Fi. So it shows right here on the terminal behind Nut. It shows that we are connected. And if connection goes well, then we can actually enter what we want. So, or enter the title that we're looking for. So I have these separate ones. What would be easier to install? I'm going to just try this one. I think it's version 0. And there you go. So I'd be able to do this. I can't show it here, but I'm going to go ahead and see if it works for me. And I'll get back to you when this is done. Hey, so that's pretty much it. Everything is working for me. And I hope everything is working for you. So if it doesn't, you can let me know. And I'll try my best to help you out as best as I can. Because I'm not really familiar with Linux and things like that. But of course, if you have any issues, I know I did come across other issues when I was trying to install Nut, and it was giving me something like python.egg, but I never had that issue again. And the only time I had that issue was when I was installing it from the switch, which doesn't make any sense, but I was trying to use the Ubuntu version there since I already had it installed from my previous video, and I was having that issue. But I didn't have it with any other Ubuntu. So this is my third try with Ubuntu, and it's working just fine for me. So of course, let me know if it does work for you and things like that. So I hope this was helpful for you, especially if you're still around the person that commented on my video asking for a tutorial. I hope this was good enough. And if anybody has any type of issues with what I said, that maybe I left something out, you can let me know in the comments, and of course I will I don't know, take them in consideration because the video is already made, but I'll know for future reference in that sense. But that's it. Everything is working, and I hope it works for you. So with that being said, thank you for watching. I appreciate everybody's support for the channel, for me, and as always, I love you, and I'll see you on the next one.